Today we're going to talk about the top 5 hyped altcoins. These are altcoins that I've noticed that no matter where you go, it's difficult to not hear about them. Now before we get started here, I want to be clear that I'm not recommending investing in any of these. Rather, I want to point out that they have the foundation in place for grassroots marketing. In other words, word of mouth, right? Free advertising, and that's how you achieve mass adoption. That's how you find the 10 baggers. And a perfect example of that is the first cryptocurrency on this list, which is ARK. Many of you are familiar with the recent run-up in ARK, all the way from, I believe it started at around 90 cents here, and then all the way up to nearly $2 at the top of the peak, and then it just kept going. And I remember reading a bunch of forum threads back before this original boost, and then a ton of threads after this boost, and everybody was bullish on it, right? There was this guy who took an 80% bet on his portfolio on ARK before the original rise. I'm sure he's quite happy. And then there was a ton of different people that were talking about ARK afterwards. And I will tell you that I remember seeing all of these different threads on ARK and believing that there was a ton of hype behind it, and I chose not to invest in it. And the reason I chose not to invest in ARK was because I felt that they were spreading themselves too thin. I felt that they were trying to achieve too many things by going into the storage space, the social media space, the physical card space, and all of these other different blockchain ideas. I just did not feel like it was feasible for them with the budget that they had to go into all of these different areas. However, it turns out that business reality is nowhere near as important as marketing and hype. And that is the point of this video. That was why I decided to create this video in the first place, is because I missed this train with ARK because I was too focused on what I felt like the risk were to the project, and I missed the fact that we are trading in an environment where marketing and hype is everything. And ARK still has the hype right now. This was posted on the 11th, and a ton of people upvoted this on the Reddit. And it was just in general something that everybody was very bullish about. The idea of SmartBridges is something that appeals to a lot of people, and the team is highly ambitious, and it's a pretty large team. So, again, will ARK succeed? I don't know. Personally, I'm of the opinion that they are spreading their resources a little bit thin. However, I definitely can see this being one of the cryptocurrencies that either ends up in the top 10 or it ends up basically burning out. That's the first cryptocurrency on this list. This was the one that motivated me to create the video in the first place. I could still see it easily doubling. I'm not going to be investing personally. Again, maybe I'll regret it because it goes up even more, but personally, I just don't see the risk-reward profile being there anymore. The second cryptocurrency on this list is TenX, and many of you are familiar with what TenX does. They basically offer a prepaid debit card for cryptocurrencies. Basically, you top up the card using your cryptocurrency of choice, and then you can spend anywhere that accepts a debit card. Pretty simple process here. They're essentially trying to bridge the gap here between where most vendors don't accept Bitcoin, and eventually, hopefully, they will. In the meanwhile, we can use TenX. I see TenX mentioned everywhere. A lot of people discuss TenX versus Monaco versus a couple of the other competitors in the field, but I always see TenX coming out on top in those arguments. And a lot of people are saying Monaco might be a scam because the previous company that the guy ran was a scam or something like that. I don't really keep up with it, but I do know that there's no bad media about TenX. They're very active on their YouTube channel, and overall it does seem like most people like TenX, and they discuss it quite a bit on Reddit. So that goes to being number 2 on this list as one of the most hyped altcoins right now. Third on this list is actually a very small market cap coin, and this is one, the best way to explain it for me is if you think of Bitcoin as gold and you think of Litecoin as silver, then Vertcoin is sort of like your bronze. And Vertcoin, they sort of advertise themselves as being a better Litecoin in the sense that they're ASIC resistant. In fact, this graphic right here sort of summarizes the differences between these 3 different cryptocurrencies. I will say that there is a lot of merits for Vertcoin. However, on the flip side, because the adoption is not quite there, I mean, they've been around for quite a while, right? They've been around since 2014, and they have never really reached critical mass. If they haven't reached critical mass by now, that is always a concern. However, I will say that this is definitely one of the top marketed coins. In fact, this thread on Reddit pretty well sums it up. And here he asks basically, can Vertcoin be the next big player? And this guy basically says that they have to have the biggest shield to market cap ratio because he sees it everywhere. And I completely agree. I see it advertised in the cryptocurrency Reddit. I see them pushing themselves on a ton of different Reddits for their AMAs and a number of other things. And you can either agree with that or disagree with that. All I'm going to say is that there's a ton of advertising in place for Vertcoin right now, and that's always good for cryptocurrencies to spike. So I'm watching this one rather closely, especially because it's one of the smallest cryptocurrencies that seems to be very well hyped. Now, fourth on this list you've definitely heard of, and that is Waves. Waves is a platform where you can launch tokens pretty much the easiest way possible. You need very little programming experience to be able to launch a token. Now, whether or not that's actually good is a totally different subject altogether. Personally, I think that it's way too easy as is to launch tokens, and you don't have to make it even easier. And I think there's sort of a hypocritical thing going on right now with Waves, where the founder is talking about how there should be a global advisory committee that talks about different token launches for retail investors, sort of does research for them. And I have to say, Waves is just enabling all of these different tokens that do absolutely nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are legitimate tokens on the platform like Mobile Go and a number of others. However, I will say that it does concern me that it's sort of right in line with the other ICO coins and has a huge risk associated with regulations. The other main use case for Waves is the decentralized exchange. And while it does have value, just like any other decentralized exchange so far, it also faces the issue of low liquidity and volume, and as such is not that useful for the end user. Until they're able to fix this problem, I don't assign a ton of value to it at this point. However, I will say that anytime you go to the Bitcoin Talk speculation forum for altcoins, Waves is brought up over and over and over again as being one of the best long-term investments. And the only main criticism of Waves that I see is the fact that if you look at like the last 3 months or so, their price has done absolutely nothing when you compare it to the other major cryptocurrencies. In fact, the value of a single Waves has actually declined over the last 3 months or so, which is pretty difficult to do in this particular market. Now, the last cryptocurrency on this list you have certainly heard of, and that is Monero. Now, Monero has been discussed quite a bit recently because it is considered to be the only true anonymous coin. There is a lot of discussion as to whether Dash can be an anonymous coin with the private send, whether Zcash is, or a number of others, but everybody seems to agree in the end Monero is the only true anonymous coin. And as such, if you want to keep your transactions private from the government, you want to keep them private from law enforcement if you're going on the dark web, or if you just want to keep them private because you're a private person, Monero is the cryptocurrency for you. As a result of this, however, I will say that there has been a ton of threads on Reddit that talk about how Monero is one of the best cryptocurrencies out there, especially among the large caps. I mean, if you look at some of these threads, right? Monero versus Litecoin, everybody agrees that Monero is better than Litecoin, despite the fact Litecoin has a much larger market cap. And then lastly here, this was a thread that I found that was just recently posted that talks about whether or not a cryptocurrency is truly private or not. And basically this thread says how Monero is the only true anonymous coin. Now, I'm not going to give my insight right now as to whether or not I think that makes it the best thing since sliced bread, but I will say that there does seem to be a lot going behind Monero, and I see it advertised literally everywhere. Now, of course, it's a major cryptocurrency, so you can expect that, but I see it even more than, say, Dash, despite Dash having a literal treasury dedicated towards marketing. So I think that says quite a bit. Anyway, that tops off this list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We started off with ARK, then we went to TenX, Vertcoin, Waves, and then finally Manero. Let me know whether or not you disagree or agree with this list, and I hope you guys liked the video. Leave a subscription, comment, like, and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you for watching.